Okay, so hello everybody. I am Joe Workman. If you saw my cool shot in the kilt yesterday, I am not wearing the kilt today. Um, maybe I'll put that on. Maybe that could be a Friday thing or something. Okay, so if you joined our cast last week, this is definitely a new format. It isn't a two-way conversation. But there are benefits with this, right? There are I can actually embed it directly on my website. Actually having a nice little chat room is actually pretty good. And also not having the two-way conversation, while I did like that in some aspects, I think it might overall be a better experience not having that for you guys. We don't have people coming and asking, basically me doing support over a live live webcast. So, having just the questions and me, fielding those questions and answering them for you guys. I got some feedback from our webcast on Wednesday, and users definitely liked that a lot. They thought it went really smooth, and that it was, just as informative, if not more informative, than we had last time. Okay, with the GoToMeeting. So we're probably going to be keeping with this format. I think it works fairly well. I'll probably jazz up this live page that you're most likely watching this webcast on my website, just so that it has a little bit more information, probably a subscription to the calendar and whatnot. Also, I have been doing the same, and I will do this today. I'll do the same cast, basically go over the same material that I had been going on Wednesday. I'm going to change that up because I am going to be recording these things, and it really isn't a two-way live conversation anymore. It's just going to be me talking about the same exact thing if I do it twice. So Wednesdays I'll do the traditional. I'll pick a topic and go over it, and that will definitely be recorded and published for everybody. Okay, so that you can watch it at your leisure. And then this podcast on Fridays, that at this time, I'd like to keep it, but I'm thinking of changing the format, maybe doing not RapidWeaver specific, maybe just doing maybe Mac in general, or maybe bring on a guest speaker or something like that. Make it more kind of even less informal than this would be, and maybe just have probably a little shorter cast and whatnot. So we'll play with play with it a little bit, and get your feedback, and hopefully it'll work out. So without further ado, let's jump in. Today we're going to be going over 4 stacks. We're going to be going over the first stack is going to be ImageSafe. The new ImageSafe stack that was released this week. And then we're going to be going over the new Cycler update that was released last week. Going over some of the new additions that we added to that stack. We added some really great features to that stack. And last but definitely not least, we're going to be going over the dispatch stacks and how to set those up. That tends to be kind of tricky for some users, so we're going to be going over how to set up the dispatch stack, so you can accept uploaded files from your customers. And then lastly, I developed a new free stack this morning, actually, about a half hour ago. It was really simple stack. It was something that a feature that I added to the new Tumblr stack that will be released hopefully next week. And I decided to take that feature and extract it out and make it its own free stack for everybody. And we'll be going into kind of a quick overview of what that does. Okay. So let's go ahead and open up RapidWeaver. So here's a blanket RapidWeaver file that I have. And basically, right now we're going to go over ImageSafe. Okay. Feel free, as I'm going, to type questions into the chat room, and I'll try to answer them as we go. Okay. So the new ImageSafe stack, if I can find it, there it is. Okay. The new image safe stack is a very simple stack in that probably the easiest way that I could show you is to show you. And basically what it does is it helps you protect your images. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag out an image here, or a 2-column stack. Let's do a image safe stack and a normal image stack. Okay, so I have a normal image stack over here and then an image safe stack on the right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and drag out, let's just use this, this image here. I'm going to drag this same image out, and basically, as you see, I have one in a normal image stack and another one inside a image safe stack. Now if I go ahead and preview this, okay, as you see, they both look identically the same. However, this one on the right is a normal image stack, and as you know from images that are embedded on a web page, you can simply drag them out and save them on your desktop. Okay, or if we were in if you were previewing this in Safari, okay, you would know that you could right click on that image and say copy image address, copy the image, save the image to downloads, right? So there's a whole bunch of way of getting that image, okay? But let's say you wanted to actually protect that image so that users couldn't actually access that image easily, okay? As you notice, this the rubber ducky that is on the left that is protected with image safe, I cannot click and drag it. If I right click on it, I do not have the save image, copy image dialogue, save to download. Those dialogues don't exist, okay? And that is because it's protected with image safe, okay? Some other nice features of image safe is that it does have all of the same features of a normal image stack, so you can add your various image effects that you want. Same thing in image safe, you can add your image, your image effects. You can also add links, and the links will be retained. So if I go ahead and add a link to joeworkman.net here, okay, and then I preview this in Safari, okay, we'll see that I definitely have a link, okay, and that link is retained, and the image is still there. Now, a nice actually feature that this has is because it actually removes the image from the equation. You basically have one big link here, and if you were to click and drag that link, you can drag it to your your bookmarks bar. You can drag that to your desktop and save it as a a hyperlink. Okay, so that's a nice little feature that we have. Okay, other features of the image safe stack are basically you can add border radiuses to your image. Okay, let me go ahead and find an image that probably better illustrates border radius for us. If I pick here, I'll pick this one. Okay, I'm just going to do this. We'll delete this here. Okay, so I have an image safe stack with an image. I'm going to give it a border radius of, let's say, 10. Now you can do individual border radiuses for every single corner. Okay. And then also, if you would like, you can also add a drop shadow. Okay, so we're going to add a slight drop shadow in here. Okay. So the shadow doesn't get cut off, I'm going to go ahead and just increase my margin a little bit. Okay, so as you see here, I have my image. It has rounded corners. I have a drop shadow behind it, and it is protected with image safe. Okay, so users cannot get this image. Okay, now when I say they cannot get the image, they cannot get the image easily. Let me explain a little bit on how image safe works. Image safe basically what it does is it looks at an image on your page that you've loaded, and it creates a a empty div around that image. Okay. Then after that, it basically takes your image and sets that image as the background image of that div. Okay. And then it actually goes, if that isn't far enough, it actually goes one step farther and removes the image from the DOM. Okay. So if we were to look at this inside Safari again, and I were to look at this particular element, you'll see that I have my protected image div, a couple divs, and here's my link that I added to joeworkman.net, but there actually is no image tag. Okay, there is no image tag. There is no image to be had. Okay, so that means that users have to actually probably be pretty savvy to be able to get at your image. Okay, they're gonna have to browse through your source code, on the page, browse through the CSS, and find that this particular image is set as the background image of the stack. Okay. Or of that particular div. And majority of people out there don't know how to do that. They don't know how to go that far. Therefore, your images are pretty relatively safe using the image safe stack. Okay. Now I have added one more feature to this stack that is that hasn't been released yet. Okay. And essentially, what it does is it will protect every image on your page. Okay, so if you load image safe on your page once, it can protect every image on your page. So it's this protect all images on the page. Okay, now if we check that, of course, in big red letters, you will see that a little disclaimer about this feature. Okay, it is an unsupported feature, and while it does work in a lot of cases, I cannot guarantee that it will work in every situation. Okay, it could potentially break, various stacks that have, that load images different ways. If you have a theme that does some complex things, it can potentially break things. Okay, but it does work in a lot of scenarios. Okay, it does work in the cycler stack. I've tested it with. Let's show you. So let's go ahead. I'm going to add a couple more images to this page. I'm just going to add this same image multiple times here. Okay, so I now have two images in here, and actually I don't even need an image in image safe. Okay, you could just drag it on there and it will automatically protect images on your page. I have that setting checked. If we look in preview mode, okay, I can now no longer select these little rubber duckies. Okay, they are protected with image safe. Okay, now this is again an awesome feature. I think it does work in a lot of scenarios, and probably a majority, but there are going to be situations where it might break a certain stack effect, or a certain part of you. If you have a certain theme, it could potentially not work. Okay, and the only fix for that is to not use that feature. Okay, maybe in the future I'll try to find a better potential way of doing it, but as of right now, it's pretty brute force. It takes an image, creates a div around it, sets that image as the background image, and then it removes that image from the DOM, just like it does with the image within the image safe stack. So that's a really cool feature. Again, unsupported, although it does work in a majority of situations. Okay, let's go ahead and field a few questions. Let's see. Hello all. Okay. Thanks. We had a couple latecomers come in. Thank you very much. Safari developer tools. Yes, Manny. I'll probably be doing a whole webcast just on the Safari development tools, just because I think they are so useful, and I think if people learned how to use them, it definitely gives them more power and control over their website. Okay, so I'll definitely be doing in the next week or two maximum. I'll definitely be doing an entire webcast on Safari development tools. And as you see with Rapid Weaver 5, you do have access to these developer tools within within Rapid Weaver, and that's a really cool thing. Okay, so. Hi Joe, will the rounded corners display in IE? Good question, Pete. And with this stack, they will display in IE9, okay? But they will gracefully go back to normal corners within IE8 and previous versions. In a few of my stacks, I do use the Pi CSS library, which allows CSS3 effects on particular elements. If it's a big feature request, go ahead and I could probably play around with it and see if I can get it working within ImageSafe. But right now, out of the box, the rounded corners would work in IE9, but they would not work in IE8 or previous versions. Okay, but they would, degrade back nicely to the square corners, but you would still get your drop shadow. Okay, if you were to add a drop shadow. Okay, what things could break the functionality of a protect all images feature? So let's say I have a stack like a gallery stack. Okay, let's take my gallery stack for instance. Here, let me bring it up. Now, I haven't tested this, but I'm thinking this would probably break one of my stacks, right? Let's say, for instance, let's go to image gallery. Okay. I am thinking that if you were to use this ImageSafe with this feature turned on, with this, let's say you had this image gallery on your page, okay? I'm guessing, my best guess, again, I haven't tested this, is that it would probably break this right here. Actually, even though this is kind of halfway, your image is actually kind of protected by image gallery. But let's say, the image is here, okay? I'm not 100% sure here, but it may break something, complex like this. Let's say you have another stack that does this, okay? Actually, a good example is I did test gyro. Okay, if you have gyro, which is one of my kind of slider header banner stacks, okay, it definitely does break gyro. So if you have gyro and then you throw an ImageSafe, basically gyro is expecting that image to always be there. And when you use ImageSafe on the page and ImageSafe goes ahead and protects it and removes it, that image from the DOM, gyro goes, whoa, wait, where's my image? Okay, so it really depends on the stack, how it was developed, and same thing with themes, right? It may be a theme uses some sort of fancy jQuery thing that, with images, it may potentially break that, okay? So that's that. Any other questions on ImageSafe? Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. I'm going to move on from ImageSafe, and I'm going to jump into the new cycler update. Okay, let's go ahead and look at cycler. Okay, so the cycler stack, as it's been around for a long time. Inherited it from 2-bit operation, and basically when I took it over, I completely revamped the stack, gave it a lot new features, and I think now it really is a great slider stack. It has a ton of options that you can really configure it to do a lot of things. Okay, So I think the cycler stack is really going to be a great thing for you guys. Sorry for the delay, everybody. I had a little munchkin come. But back to the cycler stack. The cycler stack, in this latest update, I added a few new features. And just to kind of go over to if we go to the website, my website, on my homepage, I have some navigation bullets. Okay, you can now add these navigation bullets yourself into the cycler stack. Okay. Another thing that I added are navigation arrows, which I don't have enabled on my homepage, but basically next and previous arrows, for the cycler stack. So let's go ahead and jump into these features here. Now, the great thing about the cycler stack is that it can accept any content. Okay, it can be an image, it can be mixed content. Okay. You can throw more complex things like maybe even light boxes and stuff in it. However, as the grandfather of stacks, Isaiah, says, just keep it simple. Okay, keep it to one effect. Don't try to throw a tabular stack inside your cycler stack. I know that sounds crazy, but people do try it, right? Don't try to get all these different really complex things and mash them all together to do some complex effects on your site. It really detracts from your user's experience. Really, it does. Okay, when you got to click on this and that opens this, and then you got to slide it over and it does all these crazy effects. You can't have too much of an effect on a page. Okay, so keep it simple. I think that's a good mantra to live by. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and populate this cycler stack with just a little bit of content. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and let's do this, and we'll add 3 rubber duckies. Oops. I'm going to quickly build a little page here. Let's go ahead and do this with throw that in there. Okay. And then finally, let's just do a couple text stacks here. Okay. So if we preview this right away, we'll see that we have my cycler stack. We have my navigation arrows, okay, where I can navigate from slide to slide. Okay. I can go next. I can go previous. Okay, and then also you have the default navigation dots down here, where as you see, the dots have various states. The empty dot is a normal state. The filled in black is the active slide, and then if you hover over it, it does turn gray. Okay. So these are small bullets that do come with the stack. And I'll show you how to customize these shortly. Okay. Also, these arrows that you see here, they do come with a stack, and you can also customize these very easily for your needs as well. Okay. And you can also move these arrows if you like, right? So let's go ahead and look at some of these options. Some of the default cycler effects options I'll review as well is the effects. Okay, there are 24 different effects that you can use for cycler. Okay, and all those effects are listed here in the settings HUD, or not in the settings HUD, but in edit mode. Okay, at the bottom of the stack, you'll see effect options. There are 24 different effects listed here that you can choose from. Okay, the default is the scroll horizontal, so it'll scroll left or right depending on whether or not you click the next or previous buttons. Okay, but let's say you wanted to scroll up or scroll down, just scroll left, just scroll right, wipe, okay, curtains. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things, okay, that you can configure. And what's really cool is you can actually configure multiple effects. Okay, so let's say I wanted to do blind X, comma, blind Y, comma, blind Z. Okay, so now that the stack is going to cycle between those three effects. Okay, just to speed things up, we have, as we see here, the blind X, Y, and Z. Okay, and it cycles through those. Okay. So again, that's a really nice little effect where you can, add some variations to your stack so that it's not always sliding left or always sliding right or up and down. You can definitely add some variation. Okay. A good example of this is actually on the product page. Okay. If we look at the demo of Cycler, if you see these images here, these three images on the top, you'll notice that they're moving sometimes up, sometimes down, sometimes to the side, right? That's because I'm utilizing multiple effects, okay? And that is done by just stringing the effects, delimited by a comma, okay? Some of the next options in Cycler allow you to do, of course, slide count. So the default is 3, but if you can add as many slides as you like, okay? And then you just build, the content within here for that particular slide, okay? I'll put it back to 3. The height, okay? In 99% of the situations, you're probably not going to need this setting. However, if you have a page where maybe it's an extra content area that is hidden by default and it's maybe unveiled with a button, okay, you might need to give the Cycler stack a static height, okay? And actually the real reason I added this feature was actually for my own website. As you see here, we have a view demo, okay, and all of these stacks are hidden by default, okay, and they're not unveiled until you hit the view demo button. So they're displayed none, and then basically when you click that button, they're then displayed. Okay. In situations such as that, it is best. Most of the time you're going to have to define a static height. So let's say I want to have my Cycler container to be 500 pixels tall. Okay, or maybe you want 200 pixels tall. Okay, something of that nature, okay? So that you can set your stack to have a static height, an exact height for you, okay? But for now, I'm just gonna leave it as auto, okay? Wait time. Wait time is the amount of time where the slide actually stops. So the slide is transitioned to how long is it gonna pause before it starts transitioning to the next slide. Now these settings are in milliseconds, so this is 4,000 is essentially 4 seconds. Okay, but if you wanted to have it to pause on that slide for a longer period of time, you can definitely increase that. Okay, animation speed. This is the speed that it takes to go to transfer from one slide to the next. Okay, and then the next setting is first slide delay. Now, if we go back to show you an example of how this is used, if we look at my demo for the Cycler stack, we'll notice that the transitions on these top 3 slides all start at different times. Okay, so if we refresh this page, okay, we'll notice that there is a slight delay between when these transitions are started. Okay, and that is done with the first slide delay option. Basically, you can delay the first slide. So let's say if I have multiple Cycler stacks on a page, the first one is set to 0. I then want to start the second one, 600 milliseconds later, okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, you can adjust it so there's a delay before the transition ever starts. Okay. This way you can kind of stagger your animations, make it look a little bit more random if you have multiple Cycler stacks on the same page. Okay. Now we're going to dive into some of the new options. This is basically show navigation arrows. So this is going to turn on and off your arrows that are we saw on the left and right, okay, of the stack. Now we do have positioning So you can change the actual position, adjust the position of the arrows. Maybe you want them on the top and the bottom, or you want them to be just outside the stack, or maybe you want them inside the stack. Okay, things of that nature. So you can actually, really adjust exactly where you want these arrows to be located. Okay. The next option is pager. Okay, so this is actually going to show the pager, which is by default uses navigation bullets. Okay, so if we were to turn off navigation bullets, let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Oops. So if you turn off the navigation bullets, we now have a nice little navigation number. Okay, and if you do have the gyro stack, you'll notice that this is inherited from that. I took the same concept from gyro, and we kept the numbers. So you have your slide numbers, and then you can customize the background color and the border color for the particular numbers. So if we want to change the background color, let's say to a light gray, and then the border to let's go crazy, let's go purple. Okay, we can easily do that. Okay, so that's done. Okay, and if you're curious on the font color, that is inherited from the theme. So if you want to customize this, just simply change your link colors within your theme. Okay. Lastly, you can turn on and off the bullet navigation. Okay. I'm going to skip over use custom images really quick. We'll go over that last. The pause on hover. This allows you to, if your mouse hovers over the stack, it will pause, and note that animation will not occur until you get out, hover out of the stack. Okay. Simultaneous transitions. This is basically saying that the next slide transition will start at the same time. The enter transition will start at the same time the exit transition starts. To show you with this, if I were to uncheck this, okay, if we click on the next slide, we see the previous slide transition didn't transition in until the previous slide transitioned out 100%. Okay, now if we were to turn that back on and look at that again, we'll see that the transitions happen simultaneously now. Okay, so that's a nice option that you might want to have, depending on the effect that you want to have on your page. Randomize slide, of course, randomizes the slides so that it just selects a slide at random. Okay, and mark overflow visible is an option. Have a look at it in the manual. We kind of do go over that a little bit. This is probably recommended if you want to have a theme or an effect like toss. Okay. However, this is another weird option where if you were to check it, it might cause some funkiness in your theme, and it actually does in this theme. So you will see exactly what happens. So if I turn on make overflow visible, and let's say I change my effect to toss. Okay. As you see, my theme has now it's changed a little bit, right? So I have my cool little effect where it actually tosses off and actually kind of goes way off the page, which is really nice. But to be able to enable that, it actually causes some funky things. My header is now kind of it's not all blue, and there could be potentially some other issues if I had other stacks on the page. So unfortunately, this feature, while it is nice, it won't work in 100% of the situations. Okay, so unfortunately, the only fix is to not use that feature. Okay. Now I did skip a step, and basically this is use custom images. Now when you check this box, you'll notice that in edit mode, I had a few new widgets show up in edit mode. Okay, and they're basically image drop areas where you can drop your own custom images that you would like to use inside your stack. Okay, now let me go ahead and get my custom images ready. Should have had these ready before, I'm sorry. So let's say I want to have a custom, here's my custom active state. Okay. Here is my custom normal state. And then here is my custom hover state. Okay. I actually don't have any custom arrows, but if you wanted to, put in, here's your previous arrow, and here's your, actually that's previous arrow, and here's my next arrow. Okay. I know these are the same images that exist inside the default stack, but if you wanted to use your own images, you can just simply drag and drop your images in there. Now, when we preview this, oh, I turned off bullets. Let's turn the bullets back on. Bullet navigation. Let's turn off the navigation arrows. Okay. As you see, I now have my custom bullets for the stack, and they work just as if the normal out of the box bullets were there. Okay. So that's an overview of the new Cycler update. It's a really solid update, and I think it turns the Cycler stack into a very, very competitive slider stack. It has a ton of features. It is very flexible, highly flexible. It allows you to, great, for customizing it, things of that nature. There are also, if you wanted to add a border, you can definitely, add a border to the stack. So if we just added a border here, as you see, you can, easily, add a border to your border area, things of that nature. Okay. So let's go ahead and field some questions. Let's see what users have questions here. But can you do all 24 effects at once? Yes, you can. If you wanted to do, list as many effects as you want, and really, if you wanted to kind of do a random effect, you can kind of do, fade, comma, grow X, comma. Maybe you want to do fade again, and then do a zoom. Something of that nature. You can scroll left. Okay. Again, you can have as many as you want as long as it's a comma delimited list. You can go ahead and have that. Okay. So if we see there's a fade, then we scroll in, then we scroll, and it fades again, and then it's zoom. I don't remember what effect that was, right? But as you can see, it it definitely works. Page line would not be a good thing in Cycler. It goes back to keeping it simple. Oh, Tron says that. Yeah, I've tested page line in Cycler. I think it works. That could potentially be a decent way to allow, your users to edit the content in a slider. It might work. Tron is our support guru, so he would know best. But thank you, Tron. Anyone using Cycler stack here? Link. Very nice stack. Thank you very much. Oh, Rusty. Thank you very much, Rusty, for joining us. Okay. Let's go ahead and any more questions on Cycler? I will jump onto the dispatch stacks really quick. Let me get a sip of my coffee here. The dispatch stacks. Dispatch stacks have been around for a long time, and they just received actually a pretty nice little update. Okay, and the update, while it doesn't add a lot of new features, the back end of it makes it a lot simpler for managing your various hosts, upload limits, and things of that nature. I've added some code in the background that really tries to push through what you configured in your stack onto your hosting provider, so that it doesn't really matter what they have configured as their upload limit. I attempt Again, it is an attempt. I can't guarantee that it will always work, depending on your hosting's configuration. But I attempt to really, force the configuration in terms of upload limits and whatnot that you've configured on the stack onto that session. My tests have worked out pretty well. We have done tests of it, and it's worked out fairly nicely. We do have various flavors of the dispatch stack. Okay, you can of course upload, as you see, to Amazon S3. Okay, Dropbox, MobileMe, which is basically your iDisk, and of course SFTP, which is any account. It could be your web server. Okay, anything that actually contains an SFTP account. Okay, it could be your local desktop if you wanted to. Okay, something of that nature. Anything that you can SFTP to, again, it is SFTP, not FTP. Okay, if you make sure that your host if you're using your host, make sure that it supports SFTP, which is the secure protocol for FTP. Okay. Now all of these stacks really have the same feature set. The only real differences for them are, the configurations for, setting your username, password, and destination. Okay. Of course, Amazon S3, you configure, your bucket and your secret key and stuff like that instead of your username and password. So that's really the only difference. Okay. SFTP did get it in this latest update, did get a new option for server port. So if you have a custom SFTP port, you can configure that. Okay. But I'm going to zero in and basically test the Dropbox stack. Okay, just show you how to set this up. Again, essentially the setups for all these stacks are identical. It's just basically the only difference is your username and password has on some require some secret access keys. Some require, as you see, FTP. It may be a server port, things of that nature. Okay, but the functionality of the stack is the same. Is it impossible to make an FTP dispatch? It is not impossible, but it's improbable that I will add a FTP option. I think FTP is the way to go. I think if a hosting company is not supporting SFTP, that's pretty dark ages. I mean, it's an unsecure protocol, and I'd like just to keep things safe. And make sure that I stick with SFTP because it's much more secure than an FTP connection is, and I think that's important. Okay, so I'm sorry, I unless I get a ton of feature requests for it, I'm probably going to stick with just SFTP for this time being. Okay. Okay, so Dropbox dispatch. Let's go over some of the settings for this. I'm going to skip over the username, password, destination. That's pretty much a no-brainer there. Okay, there are two looks for the dispatch stack. Okay, the default look is what you see here. Okay, which is basically a horizontal configuration. I have a browse button, an upload button, and then an upload file queue on the right. Okay. Now, part of this, you can change the horizontal split of that form. So if you wanted real narrower buttons and a wide queue, or really wide buttons and a narrow queue, you can definitely do that. Okay, but again, this horizontal split's just for this default horizontal view. Okay, now there is another format, which is vertical form. Vertical form, it won't dynamically change how it looks here in edit mode, but if we go to preview mode, we'll see that vertical form basically it makes it one big column. So you have your browse button, your files to upload, and then your upload now. Now if you see that kind of looks a little bit funky, so we could just change the width of the stack a little bit. Okay, preview it again, and it looks a little bit cleaner now, right? We have a nice browse button, our file upload queue, and then of course the upload now button. Okay. For the rest of this test though, I'm probably just gonna let's keep with the horizontal form. Okay. Language support. Dispatch throws out a few different errors, okay, for maybe file upload size or various other things that are limitations that you can add to the stack that I will be going over. And all of those, I've translated those errors into a few different languages, 7 of them actually. And if you hover over the language, you'll get the tooltip, and it shows you all the supported languages. Okay, default is of course English, but you can change it to French, to German, to Spanish, and the various other languages that we've translated those errors into. Okay, now we also have the ability to provide 100% custom, errors. And I'm not going to go over those custom errors today. Just look at the user's manual. We go over basically it's just a text file that you add to your resources, and it is automatically sucked in by the stack. You have to name the file a certain thing, but basically it will automatically be detected by the stack, and then used. Those custom errors will be used instead of the ones that we've defined by default. Okay. Allowed file extensions. This allows you to limit the types of files that users can upload. Okay. Let's say I want to limit it to JPEG. Okay. Now, if you want to define multiple, you basically have to use a pipe. So, and if you hover over this, we give you a little tip on separated by pipe. Okay. So you could do pipe PNG or PDF or GIF. Okay. Or maybe zip. Okay. So now my upload form will only accept JPEGs, PNGs, PDFs, and zip files. Okay, anything else will be ignored. Okay, the user will get an alarm saying, we're not accepting this this file extension, unallowed file extension. Okay, now we don't actually do checks to verify whether or not a file really is a PDF file, or if it really is a zip file, or if it really is a JPEG, right? We're just doing a quick check on the file name to make sure that the file name extension is correct. So if someone has a zip file or a DMG and they rename it to .zip, okay, nothing we can do there. Okay. The next feature here is passphrase. Now, passphrase, as you see here, is definitely showing up here. But if we looked at it in preview mode, you'll see that passphrase box doesn't exist. Okay, that's because the stack is smart enough to know that when you don't have a passphrase defined, okay, it will not display that box. Okay, but let's say we want to show a passphrase and password. We'll just name it password. Okay. And when we go back to preview mode, we'll see that we now have a passphrase box that users, basically the passphrase box is, the person has to type in that passphrase and then click upload now. And it will only upload if that passphrase matches the passphrase that you've configured inside your stack. Okay, great feature. It allows you to control who's uploading stuff to your share. Right, especially if you have Dropbox, you don't want users just filling up your Dropbox or your server or whatnot. Okay, so this allows you to control and give your customers a specific access code to be able to upload stuff to your share. The next feature here is max size. This is megabytes, so you can control the maximum size limit. Okay, and this is in megabytes. So if you want to limit it to 1 megabyte or 40 megabytes. Okay, you can do that. The upload limits are really, again, that's really a host dependent thing. I try my best, and I think with this latest update, I've really tried to force as much as I could, the setting that you've put in here onto your host. But it might not work on 100% of the time, and you might have to contact your host provider to view and see exactly what your upload limits are. Okay, if it isn't working. Okay, but normally, if you normal hosts have 10 to 20 meg upload limits, which to some people isn't enough. A lot of times they'll go up to 30 to 50 megabytes, which is definitely a nice thing to have. Okay, depending on what sort of files you want to have you want to accept. Okay, number of uploads. The dispatch stack accepts multiple uploads, so your customers can can select multiple files and upload all of those files at the same time instead of having to upload one file at a time. Okay, so this is where you can define the number of uploads that a customer is allowed to do at any point in time. Okay, so we'll leave it at 3. We already kind of went over horizontal split and what that is. The next thing is button text size. This allows you to change the size of the text in the button, which conversely, changes the size of your button. So if you want really big buttons, you can definitely choose this. As you see, it will create big buttons. Okay, I kind of like the big button look with the vertical form. I think it looks quite nice actually. If we were to adjust the width a little bit, make it a little narrower. I kind of like the big buttons with the vertical form. I think it looks nice personally. Okay. Then of course down here, I'm not going to really play with these, but you can definitely change the active colors of your buttons. Okay, so if you wanted it blue or dark blue, things of that nature. Okay, you have hover state, active state for your buttons. So what color is the button going to be when you hover over it? Okay, the text within that button, and then lastly the queue, the color of the border around the queue, and then the text within that queue. Okay, the destination, this is the folder that you want your uploads to go into. Okay, now with Dropbox, it will create the folder for you if it doesn't exist. However, that's not true for all dispatch stacks. So just be safe, create your folder first. Okay, or your bucket, whatever it is for that particular medium. Make sure you create your folder first and that it exists before you publish your page. Okay, that way you know that folder exists and it's gonna things are gonna be properly populated into that. So let me go ahead and configure the stack again. Okay, I've configured the stack now with my Dropbox login information. I'm gonna click publish, and it's gonna get published to here. Oops, and it's not finished publishing yet. Okay, let's go ahead and refresh this page again. So now that my page is fully published, we see I have my nice upload form. Okay, and basically when you click the browse button, we can browse for a file. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll click this one, browse, and we'll click this one. Okay, the passphrase that I defined, I'm actually going to type in a wrong password right now. I'm going to just type in some gibberish. I'm going to say upload now. Oh, passphrase is not correct. Please try again. Okay, so as we saw, I typed in the wrong passphrase and it came and balked back at me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type the correct passphrase now. Okay, all files are successfully uploaded, and we see here I have my little growl notification from Dropbox saying that my file was added to my Dropbox. And if you look, here it is. Okay, I love Dropbox because everything just syncs right back down to my computer, right? So very cool. It's a nice way to, actually if you have growl turned on with Dropbox, it's a nice way for customers to upload files, and it notifies you right there on your desktop that you have a new file, right? So really cool. Again, that's pretty much a basic overview of how to set up Dropbox. One extremely important thing that I completely missed on, which is probably the number one thing that people forget to do. Okay, and that is when they create a Dropbox page, you have to make sure that your page extension is set to PHP. Okay, if you have your page set to HTML, okay, I will just show you so that you see. Okay, you're going to see a whole bunch of gibberish, okay, in your page. If you see this, it's because you didn't set your page to .php. Okay, let's probably our number one support request on dispatch is I have a whole bunch of gibberish. What did I do wrong? Okay, set your PHP extensions. Okay. Any questions on dispatch? Let's go to the chat rooms here. Okay. Love the desktop background. Thank you very much. It is a desktop background that I particularly love because it contains my really cool toolbox. This will actually, this desktop background will be available on my website pretty soon. It'll be available for download. Some people saying that there is an error when he uploads files on large files and it just seems to drop, and he never gets any errors on files large. Okay, Rusty, I'm thinking, I'm assuming and betting that happens with Safari. Okay, and fortunately or unfortunately, it's not the stack. It is actually, if you surf around the web, you'll notice that Safari does have a unreliable way of uploading files actually from the web browser, large files especially. So it is possible you'll click upload in Safari, and from time to time, or a lot of the time, depending on some things, that it will just kind of just hang, and it'll just keep uploading and keep uploading. Now, if you notice that first time I was uploading, it actually was doing that, and what I did to resolve that was basically click the upload button again while it was doing it. I've tried some various workarounds that I found on the web for that, and I seem to made it a little bit better than it is, but it definitely is a Safari thing, a WebKit thing, that it does happen from time to time. Okay. And he confirmed that was Chrome and Safari. And if you notice it happens in Chrome and Safari, it's because both of them use WebKit. Okay, so I haven't been able to replicate that in Firefox or other browsers, but it definitely is a WebKit thing. I've tried to implement some workarounds for that, but unfortunately, it is a browser issue. Okay, so I'm sorry about that, Rusty. Any other questions? I think I will move on and show you really quick. We're already at our 1 hour mark, but I have a new stack that I want to unveil to you guys. It will be a free stack. It'll probably be available later today, maybe tomorrow, depending on how busy I get today. But basically what it is I was developing, as you know, I have a new Tumblr stack coming out. It will be released hopefully next week. We're working on the user's manual right now, and the stack is done. But I added a new feature to this Tumblr stack last night, which essentially, if you were to go to any web page, okay, let's go to my blog. Okay, blog. Okay. And if you notice inside your blog, yeah, cool picture. Thank you very much. Who's that handsome devil? You'll notice we have an RSS feed icon up here. Okay, so you can actually subscribe to a particular RSS feed. Okay, so you can subscribe to my RSS feed directly from my blog page, right? Cool. That's kind of an expected thing to have on a blog page. Okay, but what if I wanted to have that on my homepage? So you go to my homepage and you have a nice little RSS icon there. Okay, how do I do that? Why can't I do that? So I developed a stack this morning to be able to do that for you. Essentially, here, I'll leave this on there so we have some content on this page. It's a very crazy simple stack called RSS feed, where you just drag it out on your page. There's only one setting, and essentially it is the URL to your RSS feed. Okay? Then, when all you got to do is publish your page. And if we go ahead and look at our sandbox page again, page is still uploading. cool. Okay, as you see here now, on my sandbox page that we just had this little upload form, I now have an RSS button where I can actually subscribe to my RSS feed. Okay, so this is an easy way to add your RSS feed to your browser. Again, it doesn't add any content to your page. It just gives you this ability to have this RSS icon inside your browser. Okay, crazy simple idea, really simple stack. You can add it to any page you want. What's actually really cool is if you had multiple feeds. Let's go ahead and I'll put in another feed in here. Okay, here's another feed. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and publish this page again. If now I should, to be perfectly honest here, this is a kind of a test. I've actually never tested multiple, but it should work. Where now that I have multiple feeds, I should be able to click here. And, oops, need to refresh my page. Refresh my page, and there we go. I have a drop-down list with multiple potential feeds. Now that I'm seeing this, I will add an option to give you a nice little a label here, so you can actually give your RSS feed a name. In this drop-down area. So now you can select from multiple feeds, if you have multiple blogs. So that's a really cool stack. I'll probably, as part of this, I'll probably create a couple snippets for you. So maybe if you had a page that wasn't a stacks page and you wanted to add it to it, you can easily just copy and paste this snippet of code. Again, if you guys haven't used snippets, it'll be just a snippet from in here that you can copy and paste into the header of your page. Okay, so we have a question. Is it possible, let's see, to explain the benefits of Tumblr over Blogger in 30 seconds? Really, I guess to be honest, it's kind of a personal preference. Tumblr is kind of the new thing, right? Everyone wants Tumblr. It's kind of the new kid on the block. It looks cool. It looks, it's styled nicely. It has themes, and its posting engine. It's just a little bit more attractive than Blogger. Okay, Blogger, it's kind of has a look and feel of old school. If you look at a lot of blogs that are hosted on Blogger, they don't look, professional and modern and, kind of the newfangled Web 2.0 look or whatever buzzword you want to throw in there, right? But Tumblr blogs kind of have that look and feel of, a modern look. Okay. Now my Tumblr stack does, as I've gone over last week, will, definitely make it so it looks like you have a native blog on your page, even though the blog's hosted on Tumblr. Okay. But I like Tumblr. Another thing, Tumblr, Blogger is 1990s. It is. If you just have a look at it, it just has a feel of it, and it works. I mean, it works as a blogging engine. And if you like it, great. But again, Tumblr is just a little bit more modern, right? Here, if we go to Tumblr, right? It's just nice. You have ways of posting various different things. They have text posts, photo posts, quotes. You can post things as a link, right? You can post chats, audio files, video files. So it really is kind of a more modern thing where you can definitely have tons of different types of posts. You can it is kind of more of a community where you can follow people. You can reblog people's blog posts. Like if we were to go back to my blog, I'm sure you're all familiar with Ed Brenner. He had blogged a picture that I had tweeted yesterday. So basically, I just reblogged his blog post, and it showed up on my Tumblr blog. So that's a nice feature. The reblogging within Tumblr is a nice feature. Okay. thank you very much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoy doing them. So thank you very much and have a great weekend.